Welcome to our presidential podcast on student affairs. My name is Maya Quinn, and I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, Dr. Monica Alvarez, Dr. Thomas Lang, and Dr. James Whitmore. I would like to begin by having them introduce themselves and the institutions that they serve.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Monica Alvarez, president of St. Bridget's University, a mid-sized Catholic liberal arts college in the Midwest. Our mission is grounded in faith, ethics, and service. I'm excited to be here with my colleagues to discuss how our curriculum must evolve to serve students in a rapidly changing world.
Thank you, Monica. I'm Thomas Lang, president of Midland State University, a large public research institution. Our mandate is to serve a broad and diverse population and to prepare students not just for the workforce, but for citizenship. I look forward to challenging and being challenged today.
And I'm James Whitmore, president of Brookhaven College, a small, private, elite institution on the East Coast. We pride ourselves on tradition and academic rigor. But I recognize that tradition must be agile if it's to remain relevant. Let's dive in.
Let's start with the heart of the matter. How do we keep students, especially marginalized, online, and first-generation students, engaged, supported, and enrolled? Student affairs, when functioning at its best, is the bridge between student intention and student completion. But how do we build that bridge stronger?
Let me be blunt. At Midland State, our retention data used to follow a predictable pattern: high drop-off after year one, especially among low-income, rural, and part-time students. What changed? We stopped asking, what's wrong with the students? And started asking, what's wrong with our structures? We overhauled our advising systems based on the Klein study, which made it clear support must extend beyond the first semester. So we created a multi-year student success map where students check in regularly with peer mentors, academic coaches, and student affairs professionals, not just faculty.
And the support must be academic. That's where Blake's work has been transformative. He argued that student affairs professionals must be part of the learning process itself, not just the support scaffolding. So we created teaching in the co-curriculum seminars where RAS, orientation leaders, and program coordinators get trained in learning outcomes and assessment. They now submit reflective reports just like faculty do.
We did something similar, but extended it online. One of the best insights I took from the Distance Library article was that support isn't just about services, it's about connection. At St. Bridget's, we redesigned our digital library portal to include live chat, research coaching, and even asynchronous library learning modules tied to first-year writing. It's not just access, it's partnership.
And yet, who's doing all this work? Let's not forget the people behind it. The Retention of Student Affairs Professionals report really shook us. It reminded us that we can't build sustainable student retention on the back of unsustainable staff labor. So now, every new support initiative we launch includes a workload impact audit and mandatory rest cycles for staff leads.
Yes, James. We can't teach self-care and boundaries to students if our staff are burned out, disrespected, or overextended. We're now reclassifying many of our student affairs roles as educational faculty equivalent positions, which come with increased pay, research time, and professional development budgets. It's about equity, not charity.
I would like to ask each of our guests to name a single student population whose needs they've overlooked in the past and what they're doing now to fix it.
Single parents. We now offer on-campus family housing, child-friendly lounges, and asynchronous student life programming because their learning journey includes others.
Commuter students. We're building third space hubs on campus that aren't classrooms or offices, just spaces to rest, eat, study, or connect.
Conditionally admitted students. We've created a bridge cohort that travels together from year one through graduation, with embedded support at every stage.
Let's take a step back, beyond the classroom, beyond the support office, and into the gate itself. Admissions. Who gets in? Who feels welcomed? And how should student affairs shape the process of selecting, orienting, and supporting students from the very beginning? Dr. Lang, let's begin with you.
Let me start with a confession. For too long, we at Midland State treated admissions as marketing. Yield was king. We focus on numbers, GPA, test scores, zip codes. But what we missed was belonging. A student with perfect stats can still leave in their second semester if they don't feel seen. So now, Student Affairs plays an active role in admissions committee meetings, especially for scholarship interviews and summer bridge program candidates. They ask questions like, has this student shown resilience? Have they built community? These are predictors of success that no SAT score can measure.
That's fascinating. At Brookhaven, we've always been selective, but we're realizing selectivity doesn't mean wisdom. Our admissions office now partners with Student Affairs to build narrative portfolios during the review process. We invite applicants to share experiences of failure, conflict, growth. We're not just looking for polished achievements, we're looking for character and curiosity. And here's something radical we're discussing: post-admission support contracts. If we admit a student from a high-risk or underrepresented background, we don't just admit them, we guarantee wraparound services, mentorship, and funding structures to ensure they don't just enter, but thrive.
Yes, James, that's the heart of it. At St. Bridget's, we've adopted what we call a mission fit model. We ask, does this student want to be formed, not just credentialed? Our admissions essays ask about service, reflection, community involvement, and our student affairs team helps read and rank those responses. But here's the big shift. We now hand off admitted students directly to student affairs case managers, especially those who are first-gen, Pell eligible, or parenting students. This reduces summer melt and builds a support relationship before they even arrive on campus.
In 2035, admissions will be less about exclusion and more about discernment. Who do we serve well, and how do we commit to that service? And what about transfer students? We're redesigning our admissions pipeline entirely for them. Our research showed that transfer students were admitted but then dropped off the radar. No orientation, no early advising, no housing preference. Now, they get their own transfer student affairs liaisons who guide them from offer letter to major declaration.
It's not just about access, it's about alignment. If we bring students into a culture that doesn't serve them, that's not equity. That's cruelty. Student Affairs needs to be involved from day one, not just to welcome, but to advocate within the admissions process itself.
As we come to the close of our podcast, in one or two sentences, how should admissions be different in 2035?
In 2035, admissions will be less about exclusion and more about discernment. Who do we serve well, and how do we commit to that service?
Admissions will be co-led by academic, student affairs, and community voices, because learning begins long before the first class.
Admissions will prioritize fit, formation, and future impact, not just raw achievement, but readiness to engage deeply with self and society.
The gate into the university is not just a threshold, it's a promise. And it's time we let the people who understand students best, our student affairs professionals, help shape who walks through that gate and how we greet them when they arrive. Thanks for joining us again on our very first presidential podcast on student affairs. We will see you again next time. I am Maya Quinn, signing off.